Hi, everyone. My name is Claire from Fairygodboss. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar with Northwestern Mutual, Accelerating Women in Finance. Northwestern Mutual has been helping families and businesses achieve financial security for more than 160 years. They combine the expertise of their financial professionals with a digitalized, personalized experience and cutting-edge technology to best serve clients. Northwestern Mutual is also very proud to support women of all walks of life by offering financial representatives opportunities for career growth, autonomy to navigate busy schedules, and exceptional income potential. So today we have the pleasure of speaking with Heather Zepeda, who is the managing director of the DC office for Northwestern Mutual. She's also president of Northwestern Mutual's Women's Field Association, WFA. And the WFA was built in 2020 by Women of the Field for Women of the Field. The WFA mission is to unify and grow the community by amplifying the voices of women and influencing the priorities to positively impact the experiences of Northwestern Mutual. So Heather is here to share her experiences working at Northwestern Mutual, her career path, and what she's doing to support the women of Northwestern Mutual across the company. So we will be taking questions, so please use the QA functionality, or if you'd like, you can drop the questions in the chat. So let's get started. Heather, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us who you are and what you do at Northwestern Mutual?
Sure. So I'm Heather Zepeda. I've been with Northwestern Mutual for 11 years now, which still sounds weird for me to say, but currently I'm a managing director in our Washington, D.C. office, which means that in addition to being a financial advisor and, working, with, other advisors in our firm, I'm growing a team. So I'm constantly looking for, people that have really just great talent and are looking to make a difference and work with clients in financial planning.
Great, wonderful. What has your career path been since up until the last, previous to the last 11 years?
Yeah, so I actually started my career many, many years ago as an antitrust attorney at a big law firm here in DC. I think I knew as soon as I got to law school that more than likely practicing was not going to be the thing that I did forever. And that was abundantly clear to me after practicing for a few years. There were things that I certainly enjoyed about it. I don't regret having taken that path, but it wasn't, for me, it wasn't a life or a career path that was sustainable for me. So I spent a lot of time really reflecting. Anyone who's been in that position where they know where they currently have their feet and where they're working currently is just not the thing for them, probably has that same sort of fear of the unknown and what's next and the anxiety of picking the right thing. And that's definitely what I went through. So I spent a lot of time soul searching, talking to mentors that I knew and trusted, asking for advice on what they thought I'd be good at. I explored a lot of industries, interviewed in a lot of different places in corporate America, in the government, really kind of everywhere. And to be quite honest, finance is maybe the very last industry that I would have imagined myself in. I'm not that person that grew up interested in talking about money or watching the stock market or anything like that. And so when I landed in an interview at Northwestern Mutual 11 years ago, again, I did not assume that it's something that I would move forward with. But the more that I learned about Northwestern Mutual and more I learned about the work that we do, the more that I realized that this line of work actually did check a lot of the boxes that I was looking for. I needed to be in a place that was going to challenge me, that was going to certainly make me stretch in terms of, developing my own skills and talents, but also was going to be the type of career that would have an impact that I could see every day very clearly. And what I've come to really appreciate is that the world of finance and helping clients through financial planning is some of the most impactful work that you actually can do. So that's why I'm here. What I've really come to love about Northwestern Mutual is our culture. We are very supportive of each other. This is an industry that typically, can be very siloed. You come in as an advisor and you're charged with building your own book of business. And there's almost this, as I like to refer to in law firm environment, this sharp elbows kind of environment of, get out of my way, or, do it this way because I had to do it kind of thing. And what I've really appreciated about the environment in our office in Northwestern Mutual is that there's a heavy emphasis on collaborating and helping each other and mentoring and reaching your hand back to help up the person who's coming in behind you, because someone else did that for you as well and you're paying it forward. So that's the culture that I've really come to love. It feels like when I come into the office that I'm coming in to hang out with friends, although we're doing it virtually these days. But it's a lot of fun. I enjoy every bit of the work that I do.
Great, wonderful. Thank you so much. So what do you think, you had talked a little bit about this in terms of perception of the finance world and perception, I think, of being a financial representative, just being quite cutthroat and quite, lots of sharp elbows, as you said. So what do you think it is about the culture that sets Northwestern Mutual apart in terms of how it advances and supports women in the workplace?
Yeah, I think everything about the way we onboard advisors and the way that we support and mentor them really helps to build this environment, right? So we generally, and this is an exception, I believe, in the industry, we generally are bringing in people that have no financial background. And we do that on purpose. We have a very different approach, I believe, to financial planning, where we're going to take our time with our clients. We're not leading with a product. We're not leading with a service. We're not going into that meeting with any sort of bias or expectations. And so what we have to do and what types of skills we have to develop as advisors is building trust, going into a meeting and knowing that you can, get someone to open up, to trust you and talk about their dreams and their vision and what they hope to accomplish in their life versus going in and trying to sell a product. And quite frankly, that was what I had assumed of this industry. I'd had some run-ins with financial advisors when I was practicing as an attorney. And quite frankly, not only did some of those situations seem like very aggressive sales pushes, but as a professional woman, a young professional woman, I felt condescended to. I felt talked down to quite a bit. I felt that they didn't necessarily care about learning who I was. They just wanted to push me in a certain path, have me do whatever it is that they wanted me to do for their own benefit, which again is why likely I never saw myself in this industry. But because we have this idea that we're going to put the client first, we're going to get to know them really well, we're going to understand who they are. I think that women are uniquely skilled and able to do that, to build trust. And so when we bring anyone on board in the beginning, certainly we are delivering all of the training and the learning around financial planning that we can do. But there's also a lot of mentorship around the art of building that relationship, of earning trust, of painting a vision, of really understanding who that client is, right? And because there's so much coaching and mentoring and support, there's, I think most of us, particularly once we get our feet underneath us, we really appreciate all of the resources that have been poured into us, all of the time, all of the experts that have slowed down, taken time out of their day to spend time with us, that as we get more capable and we get more skilled, we feel again, that obligation to turn around and help others beyond, that are coming in behind us. And that spirit of collaboration and helping each other really never ends. So it's something that I really appreciate.
Great. Now you had mentioned a little bit about or you talked a bit about the mentoring and how important that is. Besides, I would say coachability, are there qualities you think that candidates, whether women or men, for who come into interview with you or you speak with, that you think are really vital for someone who'd be interested in this industry?
Yeah, I think definitely being a strong communicator, but just also, knowing how to be curious. If you're that person who enjoys meeting new people, and you're curious about their background and their life and what makes them tick and what their dreams are, this is a career that might be tailor-made for you. That's definitely me. And the thing that I enjoy the most about what I'm doing day to day is that I get to hear people's stories. I get to understand not just, their dreams and what they hope to accomplish, but why, who they care about in their life, who they want to take care of, what their past experiences have been that have shaped their emotions around money, have shaped their behaviors and their habits. And really taking the time to get to know them and understand any fears or concerns that they have. When you can get someone to open up to you in that way, it's special, and you've built a trust that likely will be there for the rest of your working relationship with them, which likely will be their lifetime, right? They will continue to come back to you because you're that person that has taken the time to get to know them, that has allowed them a safe place to talk about their hopes and fears and what they care about. And they're going to come back to you with any questions that they have. You, as their advisor, become the center of their financial life. And so they don't make a decision that impacts their financial world without running that by you first. And so that's a pretty, special place to be. And it's something that, for the right person can be very gratifying.
Wonderful. So I want to ask you a little bit about the Women's Field Association. How was that developed or conceived? What was your part in getting that really off the ground?
Yeah, so the Women's Field Association came about as an idea, basically between me and a few friends. And what you should know about Northwestern Mutual is that we have a unique structure internally. So for hundreds of years, we've had a financial representative association, we've had a managing directors association, and a managing partners association. And what that creates within Northwestern Mutual is this really great um, sort of representation of the field, right? So if Northwestern Mutual is making a decision, or if they're moving in a certain direction as a corporate entity, over the decades and decades of working together, the home office or our corporate office consults with the field pretty regularly. There's this partnership that they have together. Whereas in most Fortune 100 companies, the decisions are made in the home office and the field has to live with them. What you see in Northwestern Mutual is that there's this really healthy relationship, sometimes a tension, but I think, again, that's really, really healthy, where when the home office is making decisions, again, a lot of those decisions are co-created by the field. So you've got these really powerful associations of managing partners, managing directors, and field representatives representing the interests of their particular field constituencies, right? And again, I've seen that. It's been extremely powerful. There are rights that we have as representatives, as managing directors, that we may not have in other organizations. And that's because people before us fought for them and advocated for them, and that we truly had a voice in the field. But one of the things that we recognized is that our company was, on a corporate level, really committed and pouring resources into advancing women. There was a true commitment from the very top that we wanted to be the very best place in the industry for women to work. And what we noticed as women in the field is that, wow, this is great. We're benefiting from a lot of these resources. But the way that our company runs and the way that we're organized is that this would be a lot more powerful if women in the field actually had some ownership over advancing our own interests, right? If we could somehow fit into this field association model and be the voice for women, for all women in the field. And as far as I know, this is completely novel in the industry. The field association structure in general is something that I think is only at Northwestern Mutual, but the idea that women in the field have come together to advocate for each other is not something that I've certainly heard of in another company as well. And I'll tell you, it's been a short amount of time. We basically have been around for a few months, but it's been powerful. We've seen women really come together, support each other. They were clearly craving this type of community that's for women, by women for women, where we can own, the experience that we'd like to have here, and we can advocate for each other and create resources for each other.
Wonderful. Have you started to see an impact from the WFA on the women who are actually in the field and, maybe in the industry in general? Do you have any sort of thoughts or examples around that, maybe how that's changed? Because I know it was conceived in 2020, so it's still fairly new.
Yeah, it is fairly new. And I would say, while it's new, where it's been really powerful is not only the groundswell of support from women in the field who have been really excited, almost like they were waiting on something like this to happen, right? But also the partnerships that we have. So the other field associations really from day one saw a need for this. They could have, to be quite frank, maybe been threatened by this idea that this new association is coming to be, and they could have questioned, why did we need this? But what I was really surprised by was that there was really this collective aha of course, of course we should be doing this. How come no one's thought of this sooner? Also, definitely our partnership with the home office. I think in a lot of ways, this may not have come to be if we didn't have strong partners, again, from the top down, in the home office, fully supporting this, doing whatever they could to get us the resources that we needed to get going. And I guess to answer your question around what have I seen so far, there is something really powerful when you collectively are the voice of 8,000 women, right? And those women are, they're excited. They're thinking about our future at Northwestern Mutual. We're getting together with them in town halls by role. So there are, within our association, are financial advisors, there are team members, there are recruiters, there are people in development roles. There are women who, quite frankly, have never had an association to represent them, who now have a voice. And this voice is something that we are taking to our field partners and to the home office. And, I can tell you, just having been in some really key, important conversations already, that, I've seen very clearly where this voice has power, where before they may have heard from a handful of women in the field. But sometimes it's, kind of easier to overlook that or to just, see it as anecdotal data. But when there's a collective voice in the Women's Field Association coming forward and saying, here's what our constituency wants, here's, what we see as a priority, and here's how we think it should be done, that tends to be a lot more powerful.
Where do you hope that the Field Association will be in 5 years? And what impact do you hope it'll have on both Northwestern Mutual, but also in the industry in general? Where do you see it going?
So that's such a great question. In 5 years, what I'd really love to see is that we are recruiting and retaining women at a much higher rate than we are currently. I think we do a really great job of that as a company. But, to be quite honest, this industry was not built for women. We know that, right? And I think a lot of ways, this industry is much better off with women. I think, again, back to what I said before, women are very talented and skilled in building relationships, right? And that's really the core of what we do as financial advisors. And so if we can, open some minds and thinking into what it takes to be a great financial advisor, then I think more women will see this as a, viable career path. They will appreciate that, again, this is about building relationships. It's not just about dollar signs. And they may see that they can have the type of impact that they want to have, like I did 11 years ago. And then, once we are able to bring more women on board, retain them at a higher rate, then I really want to see Northwestern Mutual continue to be the best place for women to work. I want us to, sort of flip this image that everyone has on, on its head of, what a typical advisor is. It is a male dominated industry right now, but it doesn't have to be.
So switching gears a little bit, as the managing director of the DC office, and then also as the president of the WFA, how do you find balance between your work and your home, and especially given where we've been for the last year? How is how has the pandemic affected you, and then also how are you finding balance between what has become quite blurred, I think, for a lot of us?
Um, that's another really great question. I think what I've learned and what I had to learn a long time ago is that, and I actually learned this from my managing partner, Leo Tucker, who's really great, and he doesn't necessarily believe in balance, right? But one of the things he told me is, um, Heather, like later in life, you're not going to really question how many hours you spent working, right? You're going to look back and remember these experiences that you had with your family. You're going to wish that you had more of those, right? And so one of the things that we do, even though we're really busy, and I do this with every advisor who joins us, we're setting up their ideal calendar. We're like planning out how they're going to spend their time. And what they have to do first is put in their life. What are the things that are non-negotiable? What are the things that absolutely need to happen for them to be whole and healthy individuals, family members, participants in their life, basically, right? And so that could be, time with family, time with their kids. It could be yoga. It could be working out. It could be, spending more time with their friends, whatever that is, that needs to go on their calendar first. And it needs to be respected. It needs to be something that, truly stays on there and that they stick to. And then you fit your work obligations around that. And that might sound counterintuitive, but I think that that's one of the most special things about this career for me. As an attorney, I didn't have a personal life, and that wasn't respected. I had vacations that I was told to cancel over and over and over again. I slept in my office. It's crazy when I think of how little I respected my personal life. And to be able to plug in those things first really is something that makes me healthier and happier and makes me, I think, a lot more effective in what I do day to day. So that's what I encourage my team to do as well.
And how has that been affected in the last year in terms of putting yourself first, in terms of, or your family, or things that are important to you, putting those on the calendar first, when a lot of those things just weren't accessible to us in the last year?
Yeah, it certainly has been more challenging. But I think, again, still being able to put your life first. So if you have, for example, a child like I do who was in virtual school, basically knowing that I'm going to give myself the grace to make sure that I know that she's up and running in the morning before I log in to Zoom to get into a meeting, right? Or making sure that I'm still finding, if I can't go to the gym, I'm still finding time to be outside and run or take a walk or work out with weights in the basement, whatever it is I need to do to get my energy back. But I actually think, at least I see this with my team, one of the silver linings with this pandemic is that I think we've been a lot more real about what we need and what we're experiencing. I think back a little over a year ago, and people would say, well, how are you doing? And everyone's immediate response is fine, right? I'm doing great, even when they're not. And I think what I've seen with my team, and I've seen this with myself, is that in the past year, we've been more open to saying, not great, I'm not loving these Zoom meetings, or, I feel like I'm pulling my hair out because I'm doing virtual school and, work meetings. And that really has allowed us to have some more frank conversations about taking care of ourselves, which I think is a good thing.
Do you have any advice for working moms? I love what you said about putting yourself on the calendar first, but do you have any other advice or things that you found really work well for you?
Yeah, actually, I was just talking about this with a group of women that I adore. They're in my study group, and we meet once a month to talk about mainly about business. But through the pandemic, we've been talking a lot about taking care of ourselves too. This group of women are all at the managing director level as well, and they're all moms. And so this past year has been, certainly a challenge for us, like it's been for a lot of women and a lot of mothers. And I think the thing that we've been really focused on again is the self-care, but then also realizing that you don't have to be perfect at everything, particularly not right now. There's another woman in our system, Nikki Stokes, who has this really brilliant idea, this thing that she uses with her daughters, and she calls, she basically sits down with them once a week, and they have things called, rubber ball moments and glass ball moments. And those glass ball moments are things that her daughters tell her that if you miss this, mom, this is the glass ball moment and it's going to shatter and I'm going to be really upset. But then there are other things that are maybe rubber ball moments, and, it's not as big of a deal to them and they don't care. And, she can feel okay if she happens to miss that situation, right? And it's that, getting together as a family and realizing, all right, here are the things that are really important. Here are the things that I'm going to move my schedule around. I'm going to make sure as a mom that I'm there for. And here are the other things that we can manage around. And I think that not only allows you as the mom to feel better about, okay, yes, I'm missing this, but it's something that's maybe not, it's certainly not a glass ball moment, right? But it also gives your kids the ability to participate and to tell you what they need from you, right? What are the things that are really the most important? And I think what you'll end up finding is there are a lot of things, that you might put pressure on yourself for showing up to that your kids maybe could care less about, right? And we're putting ourselves under this incredible stress to meet every single expectation that we have in our own minds. And sometimes that's just not realistic or necessary.
Do you have any woman that you feel like really helped you reach your full potential?
It's hard for me not to say my mom. My mom is an incredible woman. She's incredibly strong. She actually used to embarrass me, to be quite honest. I would see her, stick up for people and say things. And I used to think like, wow, she's so, direct or, or mean or what, I can't believe she's doing that right now. And I look back on those moments and I realized those are the moments that help define my character. Like her being strong in really key, important moments, her pushing back on injustice or, anything that she might see helped instill those values in me as well. And so, certainly she was the inspiration, but now I think a lot of the way that I show up has to do with my daughter, because I think about, that impression that my mom had on me. And I know that, my daughter is now watching me like I watched my mom. And so just trying to live my life every day to be that woman that can inspire my daughter.
Wonderful. Now, how do you support other women or empower them to really reach their full potential? You've mentioned your daughter, but say women you work with, how do you really help them get to where you think that they can be?
That's a great question. I think it's particularly challenging when you are a woman in a male dominated industry. And I know it's not only finance, tech is like this. There are a lot of other industries where women can find themselves, one of very few, or sometimes the only, particularly in leadership roles, right? And so for the women on my team, I try to share my story. I felt when I came on board an incredible pressure to conform. I at times just wanted to blend in, maybe be one of the guys, try to emulate other leaders that, maybe I was stepping into their shoes and I felt like I had to lead like them, right? And so I share that story with women on my team because it took me a while to realize that I'm my best self when I'm authentic, when I am 100% myself, when I'm not trying to be someone else, when I'm not trying to blend in. The reasons that I've succeeded and that I've advanced into leadership really have to do with my strengths and who I am as an individual, and blending in just kind of masks those. So like it's really, I think my journey, I've had to learn a lot about being authentic. Um, and I can remember, a series of things happening where I started to realize, even though I'm not a person that has, throughout my life felt a pressure to conform, I realized that, I was conforming. I was somewhat inauthentic, and that, realization was actually pretty freeing. I just remember one day thinking, okay, that's it. I am who I am, and I'm gonna, instead of trying to control the things about me that are different, I'm going to focus on amplifying the parts of me that are strengths. And yes, they may be very different from the other men in the leadership room with me, but that's why I'm here. And they need to hear this voice, and they need to see me in who I am authentically. And I really hope for the women on my team that, being able to have seen my experience and hear my story um, in some way prevents them from feeling that pressure to conform or to be someone that they're not. I think one of the things that's been really special is that, even though, I came into a leadership role as the only woman on the team at the time, it's not like that anymore. There are more and more women in our office. Our office is very diverse. It's very opening and welcome. And it's a very inclusive environment. And so, I'm hoping that the more women that are moving into leadership and blazing that trail and being themselves authentically, the less that we'll see that, the less that we'll see, women come in and feel pressure to conform.
So why would you recommend a career as a financial representative to women? What would you say are the real advantages to that? You had talked about why, some of the reasons why women are quite good at it, but why would you recommend it?
You know, uh, I think about, my time in a law firm, but I also think about, internships I had in the government and in corporate America. And what I realize about most career paths out there is that you are pretty much always beholden to the whims and interests of other people. Right? You are, there's always a boss or a manager that you're reporting to. If you want to advance in your career, it's pretty much always, again, are you um, checking the boxes that those leaders or managers want you to check? Are you showing up in the way that they want you to show up? And you're somewhat limited in your creativity and your ability to blaze your own path, right? What I really appreciate about uh, the world of financial planning, and particularly at Northwestern Mutual, is that you're building your own practice, right? And certainly there are guidelines, and there's a business model that you follow, and there are mentors around you that are helping you to figure out how it gets done. But you have the freedom and flexibility to take that practice wherever you'd like. You can choose, what type of clients you'd like to work with and focus on. You can choose, what you might end up specializing as an advisor, specializing in as an advisor. You get to create your own calendar. So there's a lot of flexibility in that. But most importantly, nobody limits you. It's a meritocracy, it's equal pay every day. So, there is, a certain standard contract that every financial services company has. And there's no like male contract and female contract. So you don't have to worry about that. It is equitable, and your success is driven by you. It's not driven by promotions that someone else is giving you. And so, in my opinion, even though it has been historically male dominated, it's very equitable. And it is the type of career that if women come in and they're set on building something, there are certainly some guardrails, but there's no one, standing in your way telling you that you can't do something a certain way. So that's what I really appreciate. I also appreciate that more and more women are controlling the wealth in this country, and in fact, women are managing more of the assets, or have more of the assets in this country than men do at this point. And what you see then is, if there are more women controlling wealth in this country and far more men as financial advisors, there's an opportunity there. There's a lot of data that shows that, women prefer to work with women advisors. Not always going to be the case, sometimes a generalization, but it's a fact. And if there aren't a lot of women advisors out there, then that means it's a huge opportunity for those that are there. And I see that. It's not in my own firm, it's not just that women are preferring to work with women. I certainly see that. But we actually have men that are coming in. Maybe they get directed to our website. And what we find, and this is certainly just anecdotal, is that a lot of time they're seeking out the women advisors to work with as well. Again, it's anecdotal, but I do think that when there are fewer women in the industry, when you get into it, there's a bigger opportunity.
Great. Well, we have a couple of questions for you. One question is, if someone is looking to switch careers into finance, what advice would you have for them, and what skills do you think, and you touched about on this earlier, what skills do you think are really, really important for them? If they're somebody who's looking at maybe wants to go into finance from something very different.
Yeah, so I think the assumption that I had was that if you were going to come into a career in finance and financial planning, then you had to have a background. And I was very intimidated by that, because I knew that going to law school was my path. I hadn't taken a single finance or business class in undergraduate, not a single one. And in fact, I avoided those types of classes. I avoided anything to do with math. And so, not only did I not see this as a potential career path for me, but I felt um, a little bit like a fish out of water when I found myself in the interview process here. It's one of the reasons why I thought I could never do that. Even if it seems interesting, I could never do that. And what I've appreciated is that at least at Northwestern Mutual, because most of the people that we bring on board do not have a background in financial services. That's actually by design, by the way. Again, we go about planning in a very different way. And so if we brought on, a number of people from the industry, they may not fit in the way that we do planning. They might have habits and ways of approaching financial planning that don't align with what we do. And so what we'd rather do is find really talented people that have certain strong professional skills, that are good at communicating, that are good at building rapport and trust. And then we're going to start with at ground zero. We're going to assume that they don't know anything about financial planning, and then we're going to teach them everything that they need to know. Which, again, thinking back 11 years ago, that was a little bit overwhelming, thinking of, all the things that you might need to learn. But because we also are training and developing in an environment that's highly collaborative, there are a lot of resources and guardrails. So you go through a really amazing training process, and then you get to team up with more experienced advisors. So you're never in a situation while you're building your practice where you're in over your head. And if at any point you feel like you do, there's always another advisor, experienced advisor around you to help you figure it out, or to go into that client meeting with you. So that's really, I think, one of the things that maybe people don't assume about the industry, that you have to come in knowing everything. And the reality is, even if you know some stuff, we're going to end up teaching it all to you again anyway. So no one is at a disadvantage if they don't have that background.
So now we have a question that's kind of from a different perspective. If someone is early career, they know they want to go into finance, and they're very interested in kind of getting to where you are, managing director level. What would you say is some good advice for them, or do you have some thoughts about that for someone who's already doesn't have a career?
That's a great question. If you know that you want to be in this role, you know that you want to be a financial advisor, but you also know that you want to be in leadership, I would let that be known immediately. Some of my favorite individuals on my team, as early as the interview process, let me know, like, Heather, I want to do what you do. I want to be in leadership. I see myself as someone who, is just a natural mentor who wants to build a team and lead a team of other advisors. That's really good information for us to know because we can always use strong leaders, right? And so when someone tells me that, I get really excited, and throughout their career, certainly I'm pouring whatever resources I can into them to make sure that they are successful as an advisor. But I've also got this other lens where, I'm helping them figure out their path towards leadership as well. One thing that I think, one of many things that Northwestern Mutual does really, really well is leadership development. We have an amazing leadership development program that is carried out by the home office, but we also internally in each of our local offices have leadership development programs as well. And so there are many resources that people can turn to as they're building those skills as a leader and a mentor within our system.
Now, we have someone asking if you would like a mentor, which I think is very helpful for anyone. How do you go about finding someone that is a good mentor for you?
That's a good question. I think where I'd start is, what are you looking for, right? There's a mentor that, in terms of what we think when we onboard a new advisor. So we always pair them up with a more experienced advisor, basically to teach them the substance of the business. They'll go through training, they'll learn a lot in the classroom, but they need that one-on-one connection with a mentor to assess, where they are in their learning and help to deliver, things that can't be delivered in the classroom, right? So there's that, there's a mentor as a teacher, but sometimes what you need, and I would say, as women, we often need this, particularly if we're going into, a male-dominated industry, is we need a sponsor. We need that person that's gonna, stick their neck out a little bit, is going to pave the way for us in some ways. It's going to help us see obstacles before we do and help us think of ways to work around those and to bust through walls, that kind of thing. And in that sense, sometimes, I would say it's been helpful for me to have that sponsor who's, a male leader. I think of my managing partner, Leo Tucker, and I think of some of the things that he did to help me advance in my career, some of the things that we worked on together to confront, quite frankly, bias that I experienced, right? If he hadn't done that, I'm not quite sure that I would be as successful as I am today. So again, it might be that, or you might find that sponsor in a woman. I think it depends on the environment, and I think it depends on what you're looking for. But I also think that the sponsorship relationships don't come about just because you find someone on LinkedIn or you find someone in your company and you ask for it. That's something that's going to take a commitment on your end as well to develop. You're going to have to work really hard at developing that relationship. You're going to have to make yourself somewhat invaluable to that person as well. And it's going to take a lot of time and effort.
Now, do you have a set routine in terms of what you do first in the morning and what you do at the end of the day? Do you have some processes set up or some routines set up that help you get ready to go and then ready also to end your day?
Yeah, I certainly have, a set of rituals. I'd like to say that it's always perfect, but I'm basically working from home now with a child and 1-year-old dog at this point that we got during the pandemic, and my husband's at home as well, and we have 2 cats, so sometimes the house is a little bit crazy. But in an ideal world, I'm waking up in time to have some time for myself where I'm meditating, but I'm also thinking about the day. What are the really important things that need to happen today? not, a to-do list, but what are the like 2 or 3 things that if I accomplish these today, or if I move Earth in these 2 or 3 areas today, I can look back at the end of the day and say it was a great day. So thinking through those, being a little bit more deliberate about my intentions for the day. I'll drink a lot of water, and some coffee generally. And then I'm starting to connect with my team, so who are the people that, I need to touch base with today? Who are the people that we're working on something and we've got to tie up some loose ends? And then I'm in my day, right? And I try to intentionally take breaks. I try to walk away from the screen. I think that, what I've experienced, and I'm sure this probably resonates with a lot of people, is if you're sitting in front of a screen all day, it's a lot more draining actually than for me than in-person meetings. So I've got to like get up, not look at the screen, walk around the block if I have to, go connect with my family, do something. But I can't be in that room where I'm looking at the computer screen all day. And I've got to intentionally build those breaks into my day as well. That's been really helpful.
So how do you see the future of your job in terms of the pandemic, going back to the office, staying remote, because there are definitely advantages and disadvantages to both. Do you have a sense in an ideal, world, what kind of balance you would like to strike there?
Yeah. So, I think in this industry, just like in very many other ones, we were in a rhythm. We were in a certain routine where we felt, to be successful, you have to be in the office every day very early. And in our industry, that's sometimes very early. You have people coming in at 7:30, and it was frowned upon, to have different hours. It was frowned upon to be working from home at all. I think there was an assumption that if you're working from home, you're not really working, right? And while I do think that there are some people that thrive in being in an office, and they really need that, they need structure. If anything, what this pandemic has taught us is that we can be highly effective not being in the office. We, certainly within our firm, have seen productivity go through the roof. We've been, far more productive than we were the year before the pandemic. Both in terms of the activity that our advisors are doing, and then the production, the assets under management, all record highs for us. And so what we've had to do is really reflect on that and realize that some of those assumptions we had back in the day just cannot be true. But what we've also focused on is, all right, what are some of the benefits of this? What has this pandemic allowed us to do? What are some of those norms maybe that aren't norms anymore? And in looking forward to how we might operate as a firm, I think what you're going to see, certainly in our firm, but probably in a lot of other companies, is just a lot more flexibility and grace and understanding that, sometimes, people need that structure of being in office and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're going to be more productive if they're given more leeway, if they don't have to have a 45-minute commute in the morning, if they don't have to stress out about leaving the office to pick up their kids from school, or all these other things that can really get in the way of our day. I've also noticed that we tend to be a lot more efficient throughout the day. We don't have the water cooler talk, and we don't have, the chit chatting and stuff that goes on, which isn't all bad, by the way, but we have less of that. So while there are other challenges and making sure that we're taking care of our mental health, I think that one of the big things coming out of the pandemic is realizing that there isn't this tried and true way of going about business necessarily, and that we can be more flexible and provide for more freedom within a framework.
What is your favorite thing about what you do for your job? What do you really excites you? And it's the part of the job that you are always happy to do.
Wow, great question. So
Could be more than one.
for me, it definitely has to do with my team. I think again back to 11, 12 years ago, and the anxiety that I was going through. My entire identity up until my mid 20s was wrapped up in being an attorney and going to law school. And that was my thing. That's what I was going to do. And so it's a scary place to realize that you don't love it and that that's not going to be what you do forever. And you've got friends and family saying like, what are you crazy leaving this career path? It's, you're doing well, you're making great money. Why would you walk away from that? And so that anxiety, that feeling, I see that on the faces sometimes of the people that I interview. I see them at a crossroads, and they're questioning everything, and they're not quite sure that they can visualize what that next step is, or what that next career path might be. They're thinking, I just need to land somewhere, and hopefully it's okay, and it buys me time, and maybe I'll find that thing I really love and I'm passionate about a few years from now. And what I love the most is when I meet someone in that position and I share what I love about this career and why I think that it's special, and you see a light bulb go off. And like me, they start to think like, wow, I never thought about this, but maybe this is the thing that I should look into, right? And then, if and when they join us, they start to get into it, and they start to, meet with clients, they're building relationships, they have a team around them, supporting them and, cheering them on and all these things. And you just start to see them thriving, and you see them, just really exceeding their own expectations in terms of not only being successful, but enjoying what they do. And you feel that gratitude every day. So as a leader, that is the thing that keeps me going. It's why I'll never leave Northwestern Mutual. It's why I'm excited to be here for the rest of my career. I have a friend here who's in that study group that I talked about, and she's like, they're gonna have to. She's like, I'm gonna die here, and they're gonna have to like carry me out on a stretcher. And I feel that way too. Like there's nowhere else I'll work, because what we do is so rewarding. And to see other people come in and thrive is incredibly gratifying.
Well, on that note, I think we're just about at time. Thank you so much for joining us, Heather. Really appreciate your time. And, hopefully we've inspired some people to think about a career in finance. So thank you again. And, to everyone out there, thank you so much for joining us, and have a good rest of your day. Thank
Thank
you.
you. It's great
Bye-bye.
to be here. Bye.